Hello everybody and welcome to the 6 hours of Abu Dhabi. It's part of the Hankook series, of course. Well, actually I say that, of course it isn't. Good morning, John Hindhoff with you, and this rapid fire qualifying session. This is a one-off race but has attracted a huge entry from the Hankook 24 hours of Dubai, 24 hours of Dubai last weekend to Abu Dhabi this weekend. 90 minutes or so across and up the coast for our teams. 6-hour race coming later on, which is a standalone event. You join us just as the fast laps are beginning to come in from the TCE and GT runners. It is a combined session for the 32 cars, and there are two 12-minute sessions. So we'll get to some of the times in just a moment. But this circuit, of course, with now 16 corners, with what is it, 5.2 kilometers, 3.2 miles or thereabouts, has been reprofiled towards the end of last year. So just waiting for some times to come in. At the moment, Ted van Ville is out in the number 2 GT3. That's the BMW M6. Just going towards the middle part of the lap. The number 923 is one of the Porsche Cup cars. So this first session then is for the GT cars, Porsche Cup cars out there at the moment. Gerhard Watzinger out in the GT3. Peter Cox is here this weekend as well in the number 48. That's the Salachin by Cox Racing Porsche 911 GT3, and the touring cars out as well. So combined session here. So 7 minutes to go. 7 minutes and 2 seconds to go. And just waiting for some quick laps to come in. People are warming the Hankooks up very slowly. The new lap records for GT3 and GT4, the only two that are relevant for here, were set at the back end of last year. 152.0 for a GT3 and 203.891 for a GT4. That was Bradley Ellis in the Aston Martin GT4, Casper Stevenson in the AMG GT3. So we're a little way away from that at the moment as these teams. Oh, and there's been a big incident with the 215 car. That's the Ligier GS2R SK Racing, Frank Eberderi, and that was down on the far side of the circuit. So a red flag out with 6:16 to go. It has stopped the clock. Now that car has been into the barriers quite substantially, shall we say. And there was a yellow flag at turn 2. Haven't seen the driver get out yet, but he'll be told to stay there. Everybody back into the pit lane. The marshals are waiting for clearance to go over the wall. So disappointment there, with only around about 14 cars putting a lap time in. Apologies, by the way, for our slightly late start. There was some consternation on the grid for the UAE F4 event, which necessitated a bit of shuffling around. Good news is that Frank is getting out of that car. Frank Eberderi, Frenchman. And that is a very damaged Ligier, the black and white machine. Well, he walks away with nary a backward glance. It's left front, left rear bodywork, left rear suspension, which would suggest to me he's gone in backwards at turn 2. So this is going to take a bit of cleaning up. Gives us a chance just to review what we saw last weekend with a stunning 79 car starting grid and a brilliant run for the WRT team from Belgium, Vincent Voss's outfit, who took first and second overall from Sun Energy 1 in third position. So good runs down through the classes as well. Dragon Racing taking the GT4 category, and Jacques Lecomte of Labre Competition in his final, he told us, competition drive of a racing car, winning the TCX category. So turn 3, we saw the yellow flag at turn 2, and turn 3 for the incident, Frank Ebaduri in the 215, or now out of that 215 SK Racing Ligier JS2R. Got a flatbed right behind it at the moment, but I'm not sure it can get out onto the track. If you are just joining us, wherever you are in the world, sound and vision together across the Radio Show Limited network of channels. It's Kez Cobb twiddling the dials in London, our main control room, and as usual here at Abu Dhabi for the Hankook 24-hour series, and this the Hankook 6 hours of Abu Dhabi. It is 0-2-1 with the team working really hard to get everything packed up from the Dubai Autodrome last Sunday, and then down here to Yas Island and Yas Marina in time to be set up for some of the support races yesterday, which, if you didn't see them on their own sites, were excellent. So, already the marshals go to work. Oh, hang on, we've had a drama. We've had the head come off one of the brushes on the marshals there, but he's superbly got the broom handle back into it. We're barely, oh, no, it's gone again. It's gone again. That's going to need some gaffer tape. In all seriousness, our friends and colleagues in orange or white, whatever colour you wear around the world, in the volunteer marshal community, no off-season for them either, and what a great job they do for every single event. The recovery crews as well, they're working hard, our medical, and even the volunteers who check your passes and help you park your car. And of course, in these days, we even have the COVID patrols, essential. Very much in evidence last weekend at Dubai and Abu Dhabi, with even slightly stricter protocols. Well done to Creventic for getting these races on. Already, the SK Racing Ligier is on the back of the Isuzu rollback. There is a little bit of remedial work that needs doing on the barrier on driver's right. As I say, I'm pretty certain that Frank lost that and came in backwards, arriving with left rear into driver's right-hand side barrier. New Lumi rank system this year. For us on the outside, we see the position of the cars, white for the GT category and yellow for the TCE. But inside the car, the flag in the cab for the drivers. Every single competitor car has that. So at the moment, there's a navigation screen-sized red flag flashing, depending on where the team decides to put it, but it's in the driver's eye line. That's new for 2022 for Creventic. And from the outside view, we get to see the positions, the three-letter identifier for the driver. But as I say, on the inside of the car, then they know when they're watching as well. Barrier repairs going on at the moment, and the PCR Ligier sitting in the pit lane with Harriet Arubarana behind the wheel of that car, and she was very aware that the onboard camera was on her, and the opportunity just to have a quick look at the inside of a similar car to the one that's caused the red flag at the moment. Hello to Marcel Duc, tuned in. Sound and vision for you. Wherever you are in the world, pictures are free as well. Busy weekend, and the good news is there's no overlap, so later on today it will be qualifying for the qualifying race from Daytona. Shea Adam has already done the first part of her preview show. That's available over on imsaradio.com, our sister service. Part 2, 6 o'clock UK tonight. That's 10 o'clock here in the UAE. That'll be 1 o'clock in the afternoon for those of you that maybe are up early in the States. Very early in the States now, wouldn't it? At 1 o'clock in the morning, 25 past 1 in the morning Eastern. And then, of course, we will have that qualifying at 8:20 UK. That's audio only for that one. And we've got the qualifying race in sound and vision for those of you outside the US. That's on Sunday. Check the schedule at imsaradio.com for all of the on-air details for that. And as I say, time zones are being our friend this weekend. Sometimes they aren't, but multiple events being covered by Radio Show Limited and our series partners. And with the time change from here in the Emirates back to the East Coast being, 9 hours, it means there's absolutely no overlap whatsoever. It's a single-day event here at Abu Dhabi. So this qualifying session, red flagged for the Ligier in the barrier return 3, with still just over 6 minutes to go. 6:16, wasn't it, that we stopped it at? Then another 12-minute session. Remember, 2 drivers having to take the qualifying. This is the new regs for 2022. And then the average of the 2 drivers, one of which has to be an amateur driver. Oh, hang on, they've got the cutting gear out. This is going to be more substantially delayed than we thought. Now, are they just freeing that up to straighten it? Well, they definitely had the gas out. There is something intensely interesting about people with acetylene torches out, to the point where even everybody recovering the car turned to their right and heads flicked around like meerkats. Well, actually, I think they're waiting for a piece of equipment, a little jack, to get the back of that Ligier. The left rear suspension of the Ligier, the SK car, was certainly not lined up with the rest of the car. Had a bit of a mind of its own, that one. What, you want to go that way? You know, I think I'll go a different way. No, I'm going to point to the left. I know you want to turn to the right, but I'm going to point to the left. So there's some work there for the SK crews. Pry bars out on the barrier repair. Race control hopeful that this could be sorted out within a couple of more minutes. Got the JCB tractor coming out as well. Coming from the northeast of England, as I do, where there was a huge JCB manufacturing unit down at Peterlee, Newtown. Good to see that out here. Although brilliant in terms of attention to detail. Not in the usual JCB yellow. It is in the white and green of Abu Dhabi and Yas Marina. And they're using that. Meantime, the hard-working marshals and recovery crew have almost got the back of that Ligier right onto the flatbed. That's a brilliant piece of work with a very damaged left rear. Now I can see that a little more clearly. It really has taken a beating. So Frank Ebadiri has done a proper job there. Left rear and left front damage. Left front damage looks to be bodywork only. Left rear. As Joe Bradley, our colleague and former British touring car team manager, would say it, if it's just bodywork, it's not so bad. Always check to see if the wheels are pointing in the right direction. The front wheels are both pointing in the right direction and both pointing in the same direction. The left rear is not. And that's what's causing the recovery crews issues at the moment, because they don't want to do any further damage getting that onto the flatbed. It is one of the clever flatbeds that does actually put the back of the truck all the way onto the floor. But even so, the little ramp to take the car up onto that is proving too difficult. But we've got marshal and recovery operative power to just give it a little shake and ease it gently onto the flatbed. Meantime, behind that, there's... Well, I think the barrier's repaired. What they're doing is looking to see how it lines up with the rest of the barriers. I mean, you wouldn't put a spirit level on it and say it was exact, but there's nothing sticking out that would damage a car or flick the car back on to the track. So now it's just a question of tying down the Ligier on the back of the Isuzu flatbed and getting that one out of the way, and we will be underway in a few minutes. Race control just coming over the airwaves to say 5 minutes, although that is to be confirmed. So a little more time to wait in the pit lane. Of course, all of the heat that the first 6 minutes or so got in, 6 minutes of running or so got into the tyres, will have all dissipated now. It's not a bad day at Yas Marina. A little bit of an overcast, so we don't have full sunshine. It's still enough to cast some shadows, and I'm not seeing anybody wearing big jackets out there. Obviously we're in the Global Broadcast Centre, so not being susceptible to the slings and arrows of outrageous weather conditions. Right, it's all done. And now that flatbed, it doesn't have to drive around the track. That's the bad news for the recovery driver. Was hoping, I'm sure, to get half a lap or nearly a full lap of the 3.281 mile circuit, but he's been waved back behind the barriers, and 10:33 is the start time, so that's in 90 seconds time. There's some negotiation going on here about where that truck is going to go. Yeah, they're telling him, don't try to reverse it in, just turn around and drive it back through the gap, which means I can see the left rear a bit more. Oh dear. That's a mid-engine car, and in fact the left rear is out beyond where the back bumper would be. Could be drive shaft and gearbox damage there as well. That has been a significant hit for the SK Racing Ligier. Just point out again, Frank Ebadiri has vacated the scene under his own power, which is more than can be said for his car, I'm afraid. He looked fine, although a little bit chastened. 6:16 is on the clock over the start-finish line on the Formula 1 pits. Using both pits this weekend because of the amount of support race and the amount of cars within the support race. Race says UAE Formula 4, massive and pretty good racing going on there. Phil Hansen and Lucas Gajewski looking after that for us this weekend, and you'll hear their voices from pit lane later on for the Hankook Abu Dhabi 6 hours. Coming round in 20 seconds to the start, now 15 for the green flag, and there will be 6:16 of this session. So ramping up the expectation and indeed the adrenaline, because really that's an outlap, possibly 2 fast laps, and that's going to be it. Drivers just being reminded by race control that the 40-kilometre pit lane speed limit applies through the tunnel as well. That unique feature here of Yas Marina. And we hear race engines being started. The cars are rolling. Good to see the Ferrari here. Didn't have the Ferrari last weekend. But fantastic to welcome the prancing horse back, and given that this is a Formula One track, there's kind of a bit of symmetry there. So the Lumi rank flag in the cab has gone from red to green. The Huracan GT3 heads out of the pit lane. That's the ARC Bratislava, and that's Miro Konopka behind the wheel of that car. Already out on the track, the red, white and blue of the Ligier. And out on the back straight, the the 710 Gerhard Watzinger out there for Leipzig Motorsports Lamborghini. That's a Super Trofeo, that's not a GT3 car. This is the green black Opel sponsored machine, just going past the support pits on the far side of the track, and the F4s and using that start finish line as well, actually. So very clever timing system that can recognise 2 start finish lines for 2 different races. At the moment, that is the pole sitting car, provisionally, with 4 minutes to go. 2:01.441 just before the red flag came out. Gerhard Watzinger, who we've seen in IMSA competition in the past, in the prototype challenge. Peter Cox second in the Salochin by Cox Racing Porsche. That's the number 48 car. Then the 924 of Uber Racing, Clément Mathieu. Peter Cox putting a fast one in, that number 48. So he's going to improve. 3:33 to go. This one and one more, and the first part of the qualifying for the Abu Dhabi 6 hours will be in the books. So no sense in holding anything back now. Huracan GT3, and that is a GT3 out there. There's 2 of them, Leipzig and LP Racing. Also one for ARC Bratislava. So that would be 3 of them, John. My arithmetic's not working well this morning. Needed the coffee. 3 minutes to go. No one has yet beaten Gerhard Watzinger's 2:01.441 after a 20-minute delay when the SK Ligier found itself backwards in the barriers at turn 3. A couple of new sectors of the track, of course, including the brilliant swoopy turn 9. So still waiting for somebody to light up the timing screens. It's going to be Peter Cox in the 48. Oh, Gerhard Watzinger. 46.7 in the middle sector in that 710. That's the fastest anybody has gone. So at the moment, Lamborghini, 2 Porsches, the Ferrari from Baron Motorsport, Philippe Baron driving that. That's a 2020 Evo car. Ted von Wheeler in the BMW M6 GT3. Didn't see that last weekend, so that's a new car. GR Motorsports, new car to this season, if you see what I mean. Under 2 minutes now. Leipert, Jean-Francois Bruno in that 710, the black and bright green. That is the GT3. Vatzinger across the line. But it's Baron Motorsport and Philippe Baron in the Ferrari, excuse me, near neighbours to that Lamborghini. Modena and Santa Agata, not too far away, are they? So this is probably going to be the last lap that people are starting now. Peter Cox did improve, but only good enough for second. 1:53.706. So that's about a second and change away from the lap record set by Casper Stevenson in the AMG GT3 at the earlier part of this year. Bright highlight of yellow, the Peter Cox car. Second position at the moment. 46 seconds, but as ever, cross the line. That's the start-finish line at the Formula One pits. So this is going to be Peter's last lap, I think, as he's just going past the pits for the support series. Cars that we have not seen in this session. Well, no time, of course, for the 215, which was in the barriers. That was the Ligier. Bit of a race breaking out. Lambo and Ferrari towards the end of the lap. Reprofile corners here underneath the hotel. Really one sweeping left-hander there now. And then a change to the end of the lap. Checkered flag is out. It's the Ferrari number 86, the Scarlet Machine, getting a bit of a tow across the line and does not improve. That'll be an annoyance for Philippe Baron, actually, because his first 2 sectors in that lap were very quick indeed. And then he got caught up behind Gerhard Vatzinger, now in 4th position, and that messed up his final sector. He was a couple of seconds off the pace in the final sector. Peter Cox at the moment in 2nd. He's gone through 1:54.3. So 53.7, 54.3, half a second between them. And remember, we are going to be going on averages when the second drivers get in. So that's a big gap to the Ferrari squad, the Baron Motorsport. LP in 3rd. Lorenzo Verglia has done the job there with a 55.3, 56.7 for Gerhard Vatzinger in the number 4 Leipert, number 710 Leipert car. Their teammate, the 10 of Jean-Francois Bruno, 157.8, 158 flat for Phil Quiff for TT Racing in the first of the 992 Cup class. See, I thought Phil's car was a 992, 991 when I saw it. I'll check that again. So qualifying is done for the first part, and everybody will cycle back in. Just looking to see, yeah, Phil Quiff is in the 992 class, 6th position, ahead of Gabriel Rindon in the 923 car. And then other class leaders. I'll scroll down for the best of the TCRs. Well, in fact, let's do you the qualifying results. Baron Motorsport then, Philippe Baron, the man with his name above the door, with a half a second advantage over the Salusin by Cox Racing. Peter Cox, Stephanie Cox, Peter's daughter, and Nico Pronk. Strong lineup that. LP Racing with Lorenzo Veglia doing the first part in 3rd. So 3 different cars, Ferrari, Porsche and Lamborghini. Then a couple more Lamborghinis from Leipert, 710 and number 10. 960 Racing, John Murray, Jonathan Simmons and Phil Quiff, who did the time. They're the best of the GT3 Cup class. That's a combined class, and I was right, that is a 991, and it's an early 991 as well. So that's a really good run from Phil Quiff there to take that pole positioning class in 6th position. Then it's ARC Bratislava. Welcome back to the Konopkas and Andrei Lewandowski for the Huracan GT3. That's a 2016 vintage car. And making up the top 8, the number 92 Herbeth Motorsport. Now, that is the Herrings with both of the Renaults as well. Huber Racing in 9th is another Porsche, as in 10th, 923, 924. The Scandinavian crewed HRT, that's a Finnish crew for HRT Performance. That's another 992 GT3. Inventing a Porsche that doesn't exist there, yes. Then it's ID Racing in 12th. Rabadan Motorsport by ID Racing in 13th. Look at all of those 992 Porsches. We had to have 2 classes for them. Good to see JR Motorsport, Max Veering and Ted van Wiele in 14th position in the GTs, in the GT3 M6. Lovely car, that. Then it's Speed Lover and HRT Performance for the top 16. HRT with another couple of fins in that number 930. In 17th position, another Porsche. That's HRT again. CWS with the 478. Now that is the new G56 GT4 with the big V8 Ginetta engine. Didn't fare so well last weekend, but Colin White, along with the rest of the team, absolutely certain they would get it sorted. It actually did take the checkered flag. Both Ginettas took the checkered flag last weekend. The DHABI this weekend holds on to Christophe Boujou and adds Adrien David and Hugo Valiant. That is the first of the TCX runners, therefore the TCE pulls it at the moment ahead of P21 Motorsports Porsche, the G55 of CWS. That's the V6 engined car that runs in the GTX category. Then the Vallelunga 205 machine, that's Bradley Ellis, lap record holder here in GT4. They're running a GT4 Club Sport Cayman, one of the 982s, the newer version of the car, but that does run the big flat 6. Jenga Motorsport, the 133 is the first of the touring cars, so that is provisional pole there for from the 199 of AC Motorsport. And that was the number on the broken car last weekend, and that's the Charles Dawson, Ricky Kumba, Arno Quede and Gustavo Xavier car. They're sitting in 24th, and that has been rebuilt. The 188, remember, took second place last weekend at the Hankook 24 Hours of Dubai after a left-hand rear shock absorber came adrift from the bodywork, and they had to get the grinders out and all sorts. They're next up in 25th. The 223 is the Lamera GT. This weekend, Lamera by Racetrack is the team name, and that is in 26th position. PCR Sport have their Ligier in 27th. Sally Racing are in team formation, 218 and 219 in 28th and 29 with the 2 Cupras. PCR Sport have their Cupra Leon competition in 30th position. That's the 117 car, the old Spanish crew. That's the Darcy, Pereira and Garcia car. SK Racing didn't put his time in. Frank Eberderi was the man who had the crash. There's going to be a lot of work for the SK guys. That was a very, very deranged rear end. But the good news is the DHABI at least are here, and they have got some spares as far as I'm aware. We did not see the P21 number 915, the Vaz and Katanovic Porsche. That car did not come out, so I reckon we saw 31 of the 32 entries in that first session, and now we do it all again in around about 10 minutes time, with 12 minutes on the clock. So that's how they stand at the moment. If you are just joining us, we've been delayed a couple of times. Hello everybody, sorry, John Hindhaugh here. Great to see a little bit of sunshine with broken cloud in the sky, but pretty decent conditions. Not too much wind here at Yas Marina Circuit. Delayed on 2 fronts this morning with the F4U AE with a cracking grid, by the way, and the next generation of Vertzes are racing, at least one of them. So I'm sure the tall fella will be here. Alex, if you're listening, Happy New Year to you and to Julia and the family. That was a cracking race this morning, and they've got more to come. Also, the Radical Cup as well. And they have, in fact, got an endurance race after the main race later on today. So turning this round very quickly. 12 minutes on the clock. Pit lane is open. And now with a change of drivers, we are off again. It will be Roman Zimian in the number 86 that takes that car out. At RSL_studio, by the way. Hello to Jet and to Chris Suku and to Marcel Duke and to James Atkinson and to Time Certain Clock, all tuned in from various places around the world. Lovely to have your company, and thanks for being with us. So cars rolling out, and again being reminded about the 40k limit under the bridge, under the tunnel. So it's going to take a little while. Hearing from race control, all of the track violations that we saw, that they saw. And by the way, race control here is extraordinary. They'll all be investigated after the event. So everybody, presumably, I would say, with their new set of tyres on. Don't think anybody, well, maybe one or two people. I think you just slap a new set of Hankooks on, don't you, and go for it. 10 Lamborghini back out. That's Kerong Lee behind the wheel of that car. Great variety of cars, of engine notes, etc. So a little bit later than advertised, but we are on with part two. And here's what happens now. Everyone has put in a time. So Roman Zimian is defending, if you will, the provisional pole position in that Ferrari, the Baron Ferrari. Roman has been racing in this part of the world for a little while, and indeed has raced here in a Ferrari, albeit a Ferrari Cup car, and was at Abu Dhabi last weekend. Excuse me, it was at Dubai last weekend in the Asia Pacific Championship, or at least in the Asia Pacific paddock, running a couple of non-championship events over the weekend. So Roman Zimian at least knows his way around. It's going to be Stephanie Cox in the Porsche number 48. Evan Chen is in the number 88, which was third. Gabriel Randon in the Lamborghini 710. Carol Lee we mentioned in the number 10. The 960 Porsche is Jonathan Simmons. It's Matej Konopka in the number 44 GT3. Alfred Renard has taken out what was the Grove Porsche last weekend. What a result they had as well. And why no 91, I hear you say? Well, if you weren't with us last weekend, huge incident for the 91 Herbert Porsche. And that car was destroyed in a private test. Unofficial testing, if you will, on Wednesday of last week. Daniel Alleman clipping a Cupra from memory and hitting the wall very hard indeed. Wiped the front end off their other car. That car didn't make the start. Would have been one of the favourites last weekend for the Hankook 24 Hours of Dubai. But this weekend, it is Hankook 6 Hours of Abu Dhabi. Non-championship race, but still with more than 30 cars entered, and we saw 31 in the first session. We'll only see a maximum, I reckon, of 30 here, because there's no way that 215, the black Ligier, is coming back from SK. So, waiting to see the lap times, and particularly when they are representative. LP Racing, Evan Chen in the number 88. Getting up to pace at the moment. That's the very pretty red, white and black car that we're talking about, just going down into the chicane. Turn 6 and 7. Then onto the curving straight, if that makes sense, which includes where the pits for the support race are. Then into the new turn 9, that left-handed parabolic corner. Opportunity for overtaking there. A few different lines. Turn 10's a flat-out kink. Heading back towards the hotel now. 11 very fast, and then 12 tightened up a little bit. That's where they are now. And he's got a Ferrari in front of him, the Ferrari in front of him. That's Roman Zemian in the Baron car. And they come out into the sunshine with the water on their right-hand side, literally only a metre or so on the other side of the Hankook. And then they finish the lap off with turns 15 and 16. BMW with us this weekend. 4th for Max Vering in the number 2 car. This is a two-tone grey and copper coloured M6 GT3. Not in the first flush of youth, these cars, but still very competitive and good to see it here. GT3 is a balance of performance category, so why not? So no changes at the moment with the second drivers. The mover was Max Vering going up to 4th. He's just gone back down to 5th because the Porsche of Enrico Fulgenzi has just gone ahead of him. And so has Alfred Renard. So the 92 Porsche, the Herberth car, up to 4th position. And that is on the basis of Alfred's time, 1:55.6. Fastest in this session, Evan Chen, 1:54.4. But of course, they have to be added to the first times we saw earlier on. Now, I'm beginning to doubt myself now about whether anybody has thrown new tyres on, because we're not seeing anybody going quicker in this second session. Maybe that they put their best drivers in first, of course. Coming into the hotel complex, the 718 Porsche, which is confusingly running the 205 number. It's Ray Lucas. And having just a little bit of a battle with one of the Ferraris. Oh, the Ferrari, sorry. Still provisional pole for Roman Zemian and Baron Ferrari. At the moment, 992 class is the 923. That's the class leader there. In the TCE category, which is TGT, I think, is the category this weekend for Colin White in the 478. That's the big car, so possibly running in the GT category, the GT4, isn't it? TCR is the 133 from the AC 199. Slava Gal with Charles Dawson in behind. They're separated by 3/4 tenths of a second on average at the moment, and it is the average that we're going on here. So still the Baron Motorsport car, it's Roman Zemian in that car at the moment, so not quite the 3-letter identifier on our timing tower. Porsche heading down to the braking area on the far side of the circuit is the very distinctive tricolore down the middle, silver on one side, black on the other. So it depends which way you look at the 923 to decide what you're seeing, because from the right-hand side, it's a black car, or certainly dark grey. From the left-hand side, it's GT silver, which is the standard colour for the 992. And in the middle, it's Italian tricolore. There's plenty of red, white and green. That's how you'll spot that one. That's the 923, as I say. Coming down to the last couple of minutes. So last laps being started now. See if there's any green on the screen. Not seeing that at the moment. So 90 seconds. See the Jenga Motorsport Cupra coming to the end of the lap. That's the bright green and black machine, the 133. That is the pole-sitting TCR car at the moment, provisionally, with AC behind it on the timing. Six hours to come later today. Check the schedule at radio-show.co.uk. Scroll down to the bottom. Our live sound and vision is in the RS1 category there. RS2, IMSA Radio for Daytona. We've got qualifying for the qualifying race coming 8:20 UK time, but that's over on imsaradio.com. But there is no crossover, so you'll have to change your viewing, but there is no crossover. You can watch both. Ginetta 478, that's the GT4 car, the new V8. Handful of seconds left on the timer at the moment. Really impressed with the number of entries that Kreventnik have managed to attract for this. Lamera coming through. That was the Luke's car last weekend, the lighter coloured of the two car. There's the checkered flag. Lamera is the 223 from last weekend, but fortunately they've, I think, kept hold of some of the same numbers. That was Leve Louis Marie. So I'm not seeing any major changes here. Roman Zimian in the Plus City Baron Motorsport Ferrari, I think, has held on to that with the 2020 evolution of the 488 GT3. Philippe Baron did the first part. There's Ernst Kirchmeier, Axel Jeffries and Mikkel Mack all in that car. So they'll all get just over an hour each if they all turn up for duty. That's a strong lineup. Ferrari back in the Hankook race this weekend. Didn't have them at Dubai, and they've gone straight to the top, claiming pole position on average by just over a tenth of a second. Good run from the 88 LP Racing Lamborghini. Lorenzo Veglia did the first part, and Evan Chen the second, and they pulled to within a tenth. Their average is 154.8, 154.9, 155.2 for the Cox car. Stephanie and Peter doing that. Peter went out first in the number 48. That's a 991 Gen 2 GT3R. Nico Pronk joins the Cox family outing in the Saloshin by Cox racing machine. Somebody's gone off at turn 12. Give you the full rundown in a moment. Just letting these cars come back to the pits. So apologies for the delay. Red flag cost us 20 minutes when the SK Ligier went in pretty hard. Delighted to say that although the 215 was pretty badly damaged, particularly at the left rear, that the driver was fine. He got out and walked away. It was Frank Evederi. Full lineup in that all French crewed French car. Franco Lemma, Jérôme de Costa, Franck Leverne. They haven't had the opportunity, and now SK will be absolutely flapping trying to get that fixed. It'll be massive paddling. Let's take a look at the results then. After two qualifying runs. And it is the Baron Motorsport number 86 on top. Philippe and Roman Zimian, the two names in the middle of their squad, doing the time. And the on average, it was 154.8 to 154.9. And that was courtesy of LP Racing Evan Chen. His 154.4 was the fastest lap, second fastest lap in that session. The fastest lap, in fact, was put in by Alfred Renard at 154.0. Only good enough for fourth on the average, though, for that one. In between, it's the selection by Cox Racing. So Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, then two Lamborghinis. And this is the qualifying as it stands. 710 Leipert, then the ARC Bratislava Huracan. So that's a Super Trofeo and a GT3. The venerable M6 GT3 of JR Motorsport in 7th, and Uber Racing in the GT3 Cup. That's a GT3 Cup pole then, 4992 category car. They're all together this weekend, and they are in 8th position, that number 923. In 9th position, it's another GT3 car, the Huracan of Leipert Motorsports number 10. Kerong Lee and Jean-Francois Bruno both went out there, sharing the driving. Uber Racing and another Cup car in 10th position, the 924. Rabadam Motorsport by ID, very local team with Salfa Alameri in that car. Some of those guys with Ferrari experience as well in the 977. Making up the top dozen, the 944 is, of course, another Porsche Cup car, and that is the ID Racing machine. 960 TT Racing with Phil Quaife, Jonathan Simmons and John Murray. It was Phil and Jonathan that did the qualifying from memory. Yeah, it was. HRT Performance in 14th with the 928 Porsche 979. That's a speed lover number, and that is indeed Wim Mulders and Rick Renmans doing the job for the Belgian team in 15th. 929 is the all-Finnish HRT Performance driving crew, although HRT, of course, Haupt Racing team, very much a German flag team. That's your top 16. Colin White has the GT4 Ginetta in 17th position for CWS. That's the 478. 930 is HRT. That's a couple of Finns and an Antipodean in that car. 18th position for the 930. 202 is Le Desarbres, the Christophe Bouchou headlining that one. That's the GS2R Ligier. That's the best in its category. G55 CWS is Christian Prosser and Matthew Ibrahim. They're 20th. 921 is the P21 Motorsport. That's another Porsche. Best of the TCRs is Jenga Motorsport, and that is Kisma with Thomas Horvath, Saskia Toth, Sabalagao, and Zoltan. Zoltan himself. He's on there, the man with literally his name over the door. So that's great news. GS2R in 23rd position, PCR Sport for the 213. Audi RS3 LMS, the rebuilt 199 AC Motorsport car, is in 24th position. Beyond that is the 205, which is the Cayman Club Sport, the Valuga number 205. Lamera 223 is in 26th. Then the Sally Cupra, the 188 AC Motorsport Audi, the second of the Sally Cupras, PCR, is in 30th. We didn't see the SK Racing in this session because Frank Ebaduri crashed it in the first one, and we haven't seen the Porsche from P21, the 915, the second car, at all. Not sure what's going on with that. We'll check that out with the guys, Lucas and the guys in the pit lane with Phil Anson as well later on today. Right, that is the running order. Track limit violations will be investigated after the qualifying session. So well done to Ferrari, to Baron Racing. They claim pole position for the Hankook 6 Hours of Abu Dhabi. The race is locally at 14:05 with our grid walk. That is plus 4 hours to GMT. So that's easy. That's 10:05. And we'll have about 20 minutes of the grid walk before we get going. Hope you can join us then across the RSL network of channels. But for me, John Hindhaugh, for now, from Yas Marina, it's bye-bye.